All right, Steve. My name's Fernando. I'm the owner of Zen Tea House, and this is Steve, the owner of Lift Coffee.
Yeah, Live Coffee, do a few other things.
Serial entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And both here in Greenleaf in Uptown Whittier, and we were talking with a young man about college, business, and what you guys need to know. So, Steve, you want to take the lead?
Yeah. So one of the things I guess we were discussing, and the reason why we were recording this is because this young man piqued my interest when he started talking about his future, and I approached it from the thought of if I were myself talking with the experience that I have today. It's very simple thing that I'm sure people think about on a regular. What would I say to myself at his age? And he's 15 years old, and he has an entrepreneurial spirit, and he's got so much information at his fingertips, like all these young people have nowadays. And YouTube University is, got more information than it ever has, and it's constantly growing. And so, what would I say to myself in his situation, right? What advice would I give to somebody like him who's thinking about starting a business, who's thinking about his future? And the conversation came up about what he was going to do after high school. And he's a young man, he's 15 years old, he's working, and he's stacking cash.
Which I want to say right now, that's a huge advantage over the average 15-year-old, even the average 18-year-old.
I mean, over most adults, right? Think about it. And I broke it down to him. I said, hey, do you pay rent? No, I live with my home. Not at home with my parents. And you have a girlfriend? No. Okay, good job. That's a huge one. Do you have a car? Any car payments? No, of course not. I'm 15. And I kind of broke it down to him. I said, well, if you take the money that you have now and you truly want to be an entrepreneur and start a business, why don't you try it now? And you could use that money, and even if you fail, what's the worst that could happen, right? You would just go back to zero. You're not going to get into any significant debt. You're going to learn the lessons that you're going to have to learn regardless as a business owner. And, quite often the traditional route is go to school, learn from people who say that they have the answers, pay a whole ton of money, and hopefully you're still interested in that field 4 years later or 6 years later, wherever you find yourself being done with school. And it's quite the investment when you yourself ask me at 15 what I want to do for the rest of my life. I'm not going to say, oh, I want to own a body shop, or oh, I want to own a coffee shop, or like none of these things were in my head. And you asked me, what I had mentioned to you is it most likely will continue to change, maybe every 5 years or maybe 10 years. Especially as a business owner, you sometimes you want to take things into different directions sometimes. And we were talking about your e-commerce side of business, and then we're talking about we're always discussing like how I built the retail side of my business and the foot traffic, and they're so different sides, but they're so important. And all these things are through personal investment, experience.
You can't learn that in school.
And
right? Any of that stuff, can you learn any of that stuff in school?
No professor, they can talk about it, they can theorize it, and you can talk about it, you can, speak about it in an ideological way, but to really get down to the nitty gritty and, why a business works, there's so many factors. There's no formula for it. You actually build your own formula as you go along.
Which we saw that when we were talking about our avatars and
right.
ROI. And so I said, I'm using Yelp. He doesn't use Yelp or the customer bases.
Right. So, you target a much different demographic than I do. Our demographic, we tend to target, really young crowds. Like, everybody from 15 to let's say 30. You were showing me your avatar breakdowns, which are essentially, you know, your demographics, right? And saying, oh, well, this you have a much older crowd, and so our.
By the way, if you're watching this and you're a Zen CS customer, you are the exception. You're young. So no, but this is more for the
Everybody
young
drinks
crowd.
tea, everybody drinks coffee, so it's, you know.
But Steve, like college, if you're going to be a business owner or you want to go and pursue the entrepreneurial route, which is full of failures,
Right.
is college a good idea?
There,
And if so, give me a context, because you got this 15-year-old.
I would say this day and age, with being, you know, just talking like balanced ledger for life, right? The investment you could make in yourself today and the ROIs that are available by just doing small things like reselling clothes or reselling, you know, people buy and resell things constantly. You have StockX, you have, you know, OfferUp, you have all these apps that allow you to throw a wide fish net out there and make your money turn into much more money, right? It's a short game, it's fast money, but you're gonna learn little business rules that way. So to answer your question, I don't think it's the only route, and I also don't think it's required anymore. School is very, very, very expensive. It's a huge investment, right? And
prices are inflated, and I worked at a university.
right. And I'm a dropout. I went to, I did the 2-year thing for a bit, and then I transferred to UCLA, and I was late every single day because I was working a full-time job, and at that time I had already had a kid to support, and I was driving back and forth and getting tickets, and it just became so far out of my reach, and I said, I am working myself into debt that it's going to take me even longer to pay off. And I did a complete career change. Even at the time that I was going to school, I had a great job. I was working at Northrop Grumman, I was doing tech. It was paying the bills, but man, I was still in the red. And for young people such as yourself, who have all these resources, these apps don't cost a thing. You know, there are so many different avenues that you can test out before you're even out of high school. I mean, pick one interest and explore it. Make a couple mistakes. Get your feet wet. See if that's something you really want to do. Oh, you know what? It allows you to learn an industry without being so fully invested that college kind of signs you up for, right? If you want to be a doctor, you got to go to med school. If you want to be a lawyer, you got to go to law school.
Unless you go to a liberal arts school, which I went.
Okay.
And if you want more information like this, you can leave a comment or like this video, or you just go check out Live Coffee, right?
So yeah, we have Live Coffee Roasters, Lift Whittier. We have also MGS Car Customs. You know, few of the things that I've explored. But what I would, to just kind of sum it up, for the young people out there who are learning to, who are dreaming big, tap into those resources while you don't have the overhead. You know, really invest time into yourself now, and try and don't be scared to fail. Even though you're young, you have all the tools around you. You can find the resources if you go out there and you network. And it just, you know, the only way to learn how to swim is to jump in a pool.
David, about that? So you guys.